What is up, guys? It's Coded Red here. Welcome to episode 11 of the advanced Spigot coding for 1.15/1.16, and this is going to be the last episode in this series. I know I haven't made a video in a while. I actually just moved into my new place, so I hope the sound is the same. I didn't have internet for a while, and I finally got it back. I'm actually running on Wi-Fi now, not Ethernet plug, because my Ethernet plug broke. But hopefully the video is still the same quality because I have a lot of new stuff coming your way. I got 3 new series coming out soon. I got the official 1.16 advanced series coming very soon, as well as a Bed War series and a new series for beginners. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. I got a pretty cool episode for you guys today. Basically what this is right here is a canvas, and what we're holding in our hands is paint, and we get to paint. So you see when I click, I actually get to paint, and it's whatever block you are holding, it'll go ahead and paint for you. You can paint over the blocks you already painted. It's a really simple plugin. It's really all it does is if you're in a certain distance, you can paint. So the way it works is ray tracing. As you see, if I go too far away, it won't paint. The ray tracing actually goes within 50 blocks. So it looks for the first block within 50, and then if it hits it, we can paint on it. Now, like I said, this is not the perfect paint plugin. This is really just like the simple part of it. If we grab like another kind of block, we can actually use that as well and paint. We can also paint down here, which kind of defeats the purpose of the canvas. But if you guys want to make this an official paint plugin where like you paint stuff and then you have to guess what it is, it's not too bad. I can actually probably make a series on it one day. If you guys want to see, let me know in the comments below if you want to see a series on that, because I remember this plugin from Mindplex. I'm pretty sure it is a pretty cool plugin where you get to guess what people are drawing. But this right here is just the basic mechanics of the painting. All right, so let's get right into the code. So right down here, I already created the project. This is my project. It's called Painter. It has one class in it so far called Painter, and then it has the plugin.yml. There's really nothing special about it so far, but we will get right into the code. So the first thing you want to do after you have this main class set up with the Java plugin and the onAble and onDisable, let's go ahead and go into here and make a list. It's going to be a private list that's going to hold a player. And like I said, running on Wi-Fi. I'm sorry if my video, if the code and stuff is a little slow. Hopefully it still sounds the same. But there's our list. So we're creating a list called painters because we don't want everyone to paint. Sorry, I forgot to show you that. When we type in /paint, you're no longer in painter mode. So now I can't paint. But when I type in /paint again, now I can paint. Create this little feature turn on, turn off, so not everyone is painting. Only people that want to paint can paint. So let's go ahead and import that as a util list import. So once we have this list of painters, let's go ahead and add some methods in here that are able to, do stuff with the painters. So I made it private, so we will have to make methods in here like a public void add painter, which takes in a player. And it's super simple. All we're saying is painters.add. And we're going to add that player to it. We're also going to need a remove painter. So when we remove the painters, I'm just going to copy that and change this to remove and change add to remove. We're going to need another method in here, and this is going to be a public list player get painters. And you can probably guess what this is going to do. It's just going to return painters. It's just going to return the entire list. Like I said, the code doesn't really do much now. We're just adding some methods in here so we're able to use it later on. The last method we're going to add in here is a public boolean has painters. This one's pretty simple. If painters dot is empty, let's just return false and then return true otherwise. We're just checking if there is painters. So it's just a quick method to say, hey, is there anyone actually painting right now? If not, it's going to return false. has painters, yeah. If there is painters, return true. Otherwise, it's return false. All right, pretty simple stuff. Let's go ahead and create a new class, and let's go and create the. Let's do the command class first. So if there it goes. Class. And it's gonna be called the paint command. So this class right here is going to implement a command executor. It's all basic stuff that we've been doing for a while now. But like I said, if you are new to this series, I have another series you can check out, and I also have a new one on the way that's going to teach everyone some more basic stuff and get you started with Java and Spigot. But let's create a constructor first. So our constructor is going to go through our painter, and we need to create a constructor because this is private. So we need to be able to access this main method, these main methods, you know, not statically. I don't want to access statically. I want to create a constructor. The constructor should be a private painter, and then it's going to be plugin. So I'm going to name it plugin. This is what usually my constructors look like. Painter plugin. This dot plugin equals plugin. If you're new to Java, all we're really saying is this plugin right here that we're creating a local method for, local variable, is equal to the one we're passing in. So we're setting a plugin equal to plugin because we want to be able to use the methods in here. And for example, if you want to see what I'm talking about, plugin dot add painter, you'll see we're able to use this add painter method because we're going through a constructor and getting that variable. It's kind of confusing. I'm sorry, I'm not the best at explaining constructors yet, but I will get there eventually. Let's create that command method. Poke boolean on command. We're passing that command sender, call it sender, a command cmd, a string we're call label, and a argument of strings we'll call args. I'll move that down a line just so you guys are able to see it. There we go. Go ahead and import everything. Once that's imported, we'll type in return false, and then let's get right into the code. And this code is actually really simple. All we're going to say is if. So if the sender is instance of a player, that means it's a console. So if the sender is not a player, let's just return true. If you want to go ahead and send a message in there, I mean, typically the people who are using your console are people who know stuff about the plugin, especially if you're coding the plugin and you're using the console. But I mean, if you want to go ahead and just say like sender.send message, only players can run this command, go ahead and do that if you would like. All right. So now we got rid of the console. So now we know that the person running this command is a player. Once we know it's a player, we can go ahead and say player equals the cast of a player to the sender. We're just casting player to sender, so we're able to use those player methods. Once we know it's a player, we can say if plugin that has painters. So if they have a painter, this means that when I run /paint, there already is people that are painting. I don't know if this player's painting that's running it, but I know there's people painting. So we gotta check if this player's one of them. So if plugin .get painters .contains player. This means we need to remove the player. So we're saying get painters .contains. So if our painters contains the one running the command, that means that he doesn't want to be a painter anymore. So all we have to do is say plugin.remove painter player. We'll say player.send message. You can no longer paint, and I guess we'll go ahead and check color.red. And then make sure you're returning true after that because we're to keep going on. So if they are a painter and they want to remove themselves, it will go ahead and remove themselves. What if they are not a painter? What if there is painters, but you know they want to become one? Typically you can put it right under this one, but the thing is we don't want to write the code twice. We don't want to write under this if statement and then again under this if statement. We're gonna go ahead and it's gonna go through both these if statements, and then we'll go right here, we're gonna add the painter. So if there's no painters, no one painting, let's add him as a painter. If there is painters and he's not one of them, let's add him as a painter. So we don't have to write code twice, we can write it once, just at the bottom. Plugin.add painter. Player. Sorry, excuse me. Then we say player.send message chat color.green. And we'll say you can now paint. And then instead of return false, let's return true because that's our end. And just like that, our command is done. Let's go into the main class and register it. So in the on enable, we're gonna say this dot get command, or this dot get command. Our command is called paint, and we'll set the executor as a new paint command. And remember, we created a constructor, so we will need to pass in the variable this, the instance of our class. All right, we are almost done now. All we have to do is actually code the painting aspect of it. And the painting aspect, like I said, is super easy. Go ahead and create a new class, and this one's gonna be called player interact. Like I said, this whole plugin is really not that advanced, I guess. It kind of just, if you have painter activated, you can paint whatever you want anywhere. Obviously, if you guys want to make it more, you can only paint wool, you can go ahead and do that. I didn't do it like that, but just because it adds a lot more time to my videos, and it's simple. It's more simple stuff that you guys can figure it out. But as you can see, I'm coding right now the constructor that we actually just used in our command class. It's the same exact thing, and the reason why I coded this constructor is because I want to be able to see who the hell is painting. I want to be able to get the painters, I guess, has painters get painters. That's what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to see who's painting. Because this event right here, at event handler, public void on paint player interact event. So this method right here is only gonna run if they're painters. So if someone has paint disabled, I do not want to make them paint. So however, player interact event, that's gonna run whenever someone does something, whenever someone interacts with something. So we have to make sure we know that they're painting. So the first thing I want to say is if, and we'll put an exclamation point there, the event dot has item. And I do it this way. You can use .has block, I guess, but I like to do it this way. So if they're not holding an item, let's return. Because I don't care that they're opening a door. I don't care that they're, breaking a torch, whatever. I only care if they're holding an item. Next, I can say if event.get items. Now I know they have an item. So let's get that item, and then let's do .get type. And let's do is block. So if it's not a block, because the exclamation point there means if it's not a block, let's return. If they're holding for example, again, torch. If they're holding a torch and they're right clicking or whatever, punching, I don't want to paint a torch on there because that's going to cause some problems because it's not a block. I want it to paint only blocks. All right, so now I know they're holding a block. It can still be a lot of different things there. So let's check plugin.has painters. So if they don't have any painters, let's just return. This is another check because we can get a null error for this next if statement. Plugin.get painters contains event.get player. So I can return there. So if there is no painters, if there's no one painting, let's return because I know there's no one painting, and this event isn't a paint event. But if there is painters, let's get the painters and let's check if our player is a painter. If they are not, let's return. Now, a lot of different if statements here. There's gonna be one more. This is the last one. if event dot get player dot ray trace. We're gonna ray trace blocks, so we're gonna go up to 50 blocks. This doesn't mean if they're 5 blocks away from the canvas, it's not gonna be able to paint. This means it's gonna get the first block within 50 block radius. So if we go ahead and do that, if we ray trace 50 blocks, and if it equals null, let's return. It will only equal null when there is no blocks. So if I'm saying like, well, it will null because we're getting error. If I go outside of this little parameter here, so now I'm outside 50 blocks. Yeah, I'm a painter. I'm outside 50 blocks, and the block that I'm getting is air, and you can't paint air. You can't really get that block. So that will cause a null error. So we have to make sure that, hey, if we go ahead and ray trace 50 blocks, if it equals null, let's return. All right, we're done. Now we know that they are a painter. They are a painter. Let's go ahead and set event.setCanceled to true. And then item meta. So let's go ahead and create some item meta. Let's call it meta. Set it equal. Oh, actually, no. We don't need item meta. What am I thinking? What we do need though is a block. Block equals event.getPlayer. Dots ray trace. We're gonna do the same exact code as before. 50 dot get hit block. So we're creating a new block, and it's not really new. We're just getting the block that our ray trace is heading. Once we get that block, we can say block dot set type, and we want to set the type to whatever block they're holding in their hand. So event dot get item dot get type, and finally we can say return. Now this code right here is pretty good. It's going to set the block that the player is looking at to the block that's in their hand. However, you can get some errors here. The only really error you can get is if you're coding in a version that's less than 1.13. So if you're coding in Spigot 1.8, you're going to get an error. 1.11, 1.10, whatever, 1.12, you're going to get an error. And it's because blocks were different back then. Blocks use like block data. So if you're trying to set something to a lime color wool, it's going to set that to a white color wool because you need to get that block data. If you are coding in older versions, you should probably know how to get the block data. But for people coding in newer versions like me, all we really have to do is go into that plugin.yml and set an API version of above 1.13. So we can say 1.13, we can say 1.14, 1.15, 1.16. You can say whatever API version you want. I mean, really, it's up to you. I usually set them to 1.13, but for this episode, I'm going to do 1.16. Finally, let's go into our main class. In the onEnable, all we really need to say here is this .getServer, .getPluginManager, .register events, and the listener is the new player interact. Pass in this, move down the line, and then arg1 will be this, and we are done. So we created a command method right here, a command class. We registered the command class, and we created the event class, and then we registered that event class. Like I said, it's super simple stuff. It all works from this list that is in our main class. Of course, if I was coding this plugin for real, I probably wouldn't put the list in the main class. I'll probably put a variable that like references that list from a different class, but it's not that big of a deal. A lot of people are like, oh, you can't do that in a main class. It's not that big of a deal. This is a small plugin. Who cares? All right. So with the plugin complete, I'm gonna go ahead and export it to my server and we can test it out. All right, now with the server reloaded, if I type in /paint, you see you can now paint. If I do it again, it'll turn it off. You can no longer paint. So let's turn on paint, and then let's hold, I don't know, an orange one, and right click, and we're painting. Thank you guys for watching. I really hope you did enjoy this episode. I have a lot of new stuff coming your way. I got 3 new series, a Bed Wars one, an advanced one, and a new one for beginners where I'll teach Java more and as like using Spigot as a little background. But like I said, I hope you guys did enjoy. Please let me know if there's something you guys want to see in the comments below or in my Discord server. I'll see you guys in the next one.